In this video, I'm going to show you a few different ways to count the Kabalevsky Etude in A minor. This piece mostly consists of running 16th note passages, so it's not exactly the most difficult to understand rhythmically speaking. And so you might wonder, why should we bother counting on a piece like this since it's so straightforward and easy to understand? And actually, I thought this piece would be a perfect example to show you the different ways that you could count and which ways best serve which aspect of the learning process. And so there are three obvious ways to count this piece. As you can see, you've got your 16th note scales throughout. This piece is really just a study of even scale playing, among a few other things. So of course you could count the 16th note, right? And you would do that by saying 1, E, and for each pulse. You could count the 8th note, where you would just say 1 and. You could count the quarter note, where you would just say a number for the pulse. And then you could count using a mixed set of syllables, which is basically you use what you need when you need it. And so I wanted to walk you through each of these different parts. Okay, so when you count 16th note syllables on a 16th note passage, what you're really looking for is precision. So this is a great way to start counting, or actually this is a great way to start learning a piece like this, because the rapid counting, where you basically speak one syllable per note, that's going to occupy your mind and allow you to go at a really slow tempo, and it's going to achieve probably the highest level of precision. So it's great to start out with. So I'm going to show you a few different parts of this piece and what that would look like, okay? So here we go. Here's just the beginning of the piece. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1, right? That's the first part of this piece. I've also bracketed off a couple of these other measures because I think that a lot of students tend to find these measures difficult, so I wanted to show you how to count these as well. So here's the first bracketed part with a little bit of syncopation to it. I'm going to show you this really slowly. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and, right? You go on to the next page. There's another passage right here. This is just a somewhat awkward scale passage, so I'm going to show you that. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and, right? And then towards the end, there's this other scale, which has a dotted quarter in the left hand. So here's what that looks like using 16th notes. And actually, I'm going to write this one out for you so you can actually see it very clearly. So 1 E and 2 E and right? We want to line these up. Probably should have done that for the other parts, but I can show you using the other syllables. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3. So that's your 16th note. And that gets you precision, and this is probably what you should start with. However, I'm slightly out of breath just by running through that for you. As you can see, one of the drawbacks to this method of counting, it's great for when a fast piece is being learned very slowly, and it's great for precision, but it doesn't scale that well. Even though these are scales, it doesn't scale that well. I'm just joking. All right, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start grouping the pulse. So we're going to switch over to the 8th note. And so if you have 16th notes and you switch to counting the 8th note, you're going to say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so on. And when you count this way, you're going to count one word for every 2 notes that you play, at least on the right hand. So I'm going to actually write that out for you this time. So we're just going to go 1 and 2 and you're going to see that this actually lines up with what the left hand is doing, which is very important. I'm actually going to show you, let me scroll down a little bit, on this passage as well. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. This form of counting actually most gracefully handles measures like this. Okay, I don't think I need to show you much more. This is actually my preferred way to count a piece like this. When you have fast 16th notes and you have other kinds of note values, I like to count the 8th note for most of the learning process. The 16th note only in the beginning, only if I need to work out something really difficult or I really need that detail. Otherwise, I'm mostly counting the 8th note or feeling the 8th note until the tempo is approaching performance tempo. Okay? So that is going to, oops, let me get rid of that. That is going to look like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, right? And so instead of saying 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, right? If I try to count that as fast as I can, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, right? That gets pretty busy. So if I switch to the and, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, it's a lot more comfortable. And it's still pretty precise. Here's that next bracketed measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, I'm going to show you that slow. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, I should have made that staccato. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? Here is that next bracketed measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then finally, here's the scale at the end. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3. Okay? So that is my preferred way to count this piece because I feel like it tackles all of the syncopated weirdness that you might have. It normalizes the left hand and gives you a way to feel that. It also makes the final passage much less awkward as well. And then you can count the quarter, which is where you just say the pulse, right? I'm going to erase this. You're just going to say the pulse. This is going to lend itself best to performance tempo. And let me silence my notifications because I don't want to have anything happen. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so counting the quarter note. 4 notes per word that you say. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now on a piece like this, like normally when you feel the quarter notes, like let's say it's a classical piece like a sonatine or something like that, feeling the quarter note with a slight emphasis actually benefits the piece in a lot of ways, and a lot of pieces are sort of constructed with this in mind, or it's very tasteful to do this, but you don't want to do this on a piece like this because of these crescendos in each of the scales. You really want to get rid of any sort of accent and instead lean on the note, lean on the crescendo a little bit, like try to make it as smooth as possible. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So this way of counting actually, like, you're speaking less, so you can hear more of the piano. And so you can focus more on those types of details. So this is more of like, you're trying to explore performance tempo. You're trying to push yourself a little bit. You're trying to get this ready to work with a faster metronome, and so on. Anyway, it's going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and so on. Here's that next measure. Now this measure is actually really difficult to count using the quarter because of the syncopation, but I'm going to try it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that, because you're basically lining up the left hand with the quarter. 1, 2, 3, 4. But then on the right hand, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? It's halfway in between, so that's a little awkward, but you get used to it. 1, 2, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And really, I should be doing this slow so I can help you out. So sorry about that. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. There's your example. Going on to the next passage. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me do that again. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, that's going to sound like. And at the end here, again, this is just a little tricky because of the dotted rhythm in the left hand, but you can work it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's counting the quarter note, and that's the best one for at least all of the running 16th note scale passages. Perhaps it's not the best for this measure, and perhaps it's not best for the ending. So this gets into the fourth style of counting, which I call mixed counting, which is just, use what you need when you need it. I feel like this should be your last style of counting that you explore. And really, I think it would be a very good idea for you to work with these other forms of counting on your way to doing the mixed counting, because if you go straight to mixed counting, that's going to assume that you know how to make everything properly proportional. And that's something that you kind of learn from the other forms of counting on any given piece. So if you jump straight to that, you might be making rhythmic mistakes and not know it. Anyway, but let's assume that you're comfortable with the others. You're going to use a mixed counting, okay? So maybe you feel the scale passages with a quarter note. Maybe you feel this passage with eighth notes. Maybe you feel any passage where you feel like fine detail is needed, like this with the 16th note. And maybe the end you go back to eighth notes, right? You could just kind of switch it up as you need. So that could sound, we'll just kind of give you an example. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and sorry, let's do that wrong. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1, right? See, I'm just switching back and forth. I might do this with eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and 4 and. That's how I might do that. Maybe stick to 16th notes in this passage. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and 4 and. And then for the end, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Anyway, that's my quick counting tutorial for the Kabalevsky. I hope this is something that gets you started with this piece, or maybe motivates you that, this really is quite accessible in terms of an intermediate work. And also, I'm interested in what you have to say in terms of, these types of counting only or counting as the focus tutorials for pieces. Do you like this sort of thing? If so, I would love to hear what you have to say in the comments below. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Bye.